Welcome to study session 4, Methods of Data Collection. Introduction. The phenomena in which the researcher is interested must be translated into concepts that can be measured, observed, or recorded. The task of selecting or developing methods of gathering data is the most challenging in the research process. Without appropriate data collection methods, the validity of research conclusion is easily challenged. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Demonstrate understanding of the key dimensions of data collection methods. 2. Describe the various types of data collection methods. 3. Understand the various methods of quantitative data collection. 4. Able to design a questionnaire. 5. Understand the various methods of qualitative data collection. Key dimensions of data collection methods. Regardless of the approach used, data collection methods vary along several important dimensions. Structure. Research data are usually collected in a structured manner. The same information is gathered from all participants in a comparable, pre-specified way. Quantifiability. Data that will be analyzed statistically must be gathered in such a way that they can be quantified. On the other hand, data that are to be analyzed qualitatively are collected in narrative form. Obstructiveness. Data collection methods differ in terms of degree to which people are aware of their status as study participants. If participants are fully aware of their role in a study, their behavior and responses might not be normal. When data is collected unobstructively, however, ethical problems may emerge. Objectivity. Some data collection approach requires some subjective judgment than others. Quantitative researchers generally strive for methods that are more objective as possible. In qualitative research, however, the subjective judgment of the investigator is considered a valuable tool. Five, focus group discussion. 6, group interviews. 7, in-depth interview. 8, semi-structured interviews. In the quantitative method of data collection, the interview, not limited to predetermined set of questions and research questions, are modified as new information emerges. More so, it focuses on meanings of events and behaviors rather than measurement of knowledge. Quantitative data collection. Documentary sources. It includes the use of clinical records and other personal records, death certificates, published mortality statistics, census publications, etc. Advantages: 1. Documents can provide ready-made information relatively easily. 2. The best means of studying past events. Disadvantages: 1. Problems of reliability and validity, because the information is collected by a number of different persons who may have used different definitions or methods of obtaining data. 2. There is possibility that errors may occur when the information is extracted from the record. That is, this may be an important source of unreliability if handwritings are difficult to read. Since the records are maintained not for research purposes but for clinical, administrative or other ends, the information required may be recorded at all or only partly recorded. Interviews. Interviews may be less or more structured. A health worker conducting interviews may be armed with checklists of topics, but may not decide in advance precisely what questions he will ask. If his approach is flexible, the content, wording, and order of his questions vary from interview to interview. Hence, his interviews are relatively unstructured. On the other hand, if a more standardized technique where the wording and order of questions being decided is in advance is used, it may take the form of a highly structured interview. On the other hand, interviews have many advantages. 1. A good interviewer can stimulate and maintain the respondent's interest. 2. If anxiety is aroused, e.g., why am I being asked this question? The interviewer can allay it. 3. An interviewer can repeat questions which are not understood and give standardized explanation where necessary. 4. An interviewer can ask follow-up or probing questions to clarify a response. 5. An interviewer can make observations during the interview, that is, notes is taken not only of what the subject says, but also how he says it. In general, apart from the expense, interviews are preferred to self-administered questionnaires, provided that they are conducted by skilled interviewers. Self-administered questionnaire. Questionnaire is an instrument used to elicit information from study unit, and it contains a list of items of information to be collected. The respondent reads the questions and fills in the answers by himself. The use of self-administered questionnaires is simple and cheaper. Such questionnaires can be administered so many people simultaneously. Questionnaire design. Questions may either be open-minded questions, which the subject answers in his own words, or closed questions, which are answered by choosing from a number of fixed alternative responses. In questionnaire design, the following should be noted. A. Use familiar and appropriate language. B. Avoid abbreviations, double negatives, etc. C. Avoid two elements to be collected through one question. D. Pre-code the responses to facilitate data processing. E. Avoid embarrassing and painful questions. F. Watch out for ambiguous wording. G. Avoid language that suggests a response. H. Start with simpler questions. I. Ask the same question to all respondents. J. Avoid long questions. K. Avoid negative questions like don't you think. L. Avoid leading questions. M. Pay attention to sensitive issues. N. Provide other or don't know options where appropriate. O. Provide the unit of measurement for continuous variables, years, months, kgs, etc. P. For open-ended questions, provide sufficient space for the response. Q. Arrange questions in logical sequences. R. Group questions by topic and place a few sentences of transition between topics. S. Provide complete training for interviewers. T. Pretest the questionnaire on 20 to 50 respondents in actual field situation. U. Check all field questionnaire at field level. V. Include thank you after the last question. Preparation of questionnaire. 1. Examine general aims and specific objectives of study. 2. Make a checklist of relevant questions or items of information. 3. List all variables to ensure each item of information. 4. List how each of these variables are to be measured. 5. Start construction of question. Advantage of questionnaire. 1. It helps to provide checklists for topics covered. 2. Ensures uniformity of questions asked from all respondents. 3. It also helps to assess researchers' understanding of variables relevant to study objectives. 4. It allows easy processing of data collected quantitatively. 5. It allows preparation of dummy tables even before data collection. Methods of collecting qualitative data. Qualitative approaches to data collection usually involve direct interaction with individuals on a one-to-one basis or in a group setting. Data collection methods are time-consuming, and consequently data is collected from smaller numbers of people than would usually be the case in quantitative approaches such as the questionnaire survey. The benefits of using these approaches include richness of data and deeper insight into the phenomena under study. Unlike quantitative data, raw qualitative data cannot be analyzed statistically. The main methods of collecting qualitative data are individual interviews, focus groups, and observations. Qualitative interviews. Qualitative interviews are semi-structured or unstructured. Semi-structured interviews tend to work well when the interviewer has already identified a number of aspects he wants to be assured of addressing. The interviewer can decide in advance what areas to cover, but is open and receptive to unexpected information from the interviewee. This can be particularly important if a limited time is available for each interview and the interviewer wants to be sure that the key issues will be covered. Semi-structured interviews, sometimes referred to as focus interviews, involve a series of open-ended questions based on the topic areas the researcher wants to cover. The open-ended nature of the question defines the topic under the investigation, but provides opportunity for both interviewer and interviewee to discuss some topics in more detail. If the interviewee has difficulty answering a question or provides only a brief response, the interviewer can use quizzes or prompts to encourage the interviewee to consider the question further. In a semi-structured interview, the interviewer also has the freedom to probe the interviewee to elaborate on the original response or to follow a line of inquiry introduced by the interviewee. Unstructured interviews, also referred to as depth or in-depth interviews. These are very little structured at all. The interviewer goes into the interview with the aim of discussing a limited number of topics, sometimes as few as one or two, and frames the questions on the basis of the interviewee's previous response. Focus group discussion. Sometimes it is preferred to collect information from groups of people rather than from a series of individuals. Focus group can be useful to obtain certain types of information or when circumstances would make it difficult to collect information, using other methods to develop collection. Fawole 2014 defined focus group discussions as a rapid assessment, semi-structured data gathering method in which a purposefully selected set of participants gather to discuss issues and concerns based on a list of key themes drawn up by the researcher and/or facilitator. A focus group discussion (FGD) is a group discussion of 6 to 12 persons guided by a facilitator, during which group members talk freely and spontaneously about a certain topic. The purpose of an FGD is to obtain in-depth information on concepts, perceptions, and ideas of the group. It aims to be more than a question-answer interaction. FGD techniques can be used to A. Develop relevant research hypotheses by exploring in greater depth the problem to be investigated and its possible causes. B. Formulate appropriate questions for more structured, larger scale surveys. C. Supplement information on community knowledge, beliefs, attitudes, and behavior already available but incomplete or unclear. D. FGDs are not used to test hypotheses or to produce research findings that can be generalized. Conducting a focus group discussion. 1. Recruitment of participants. Participants should be roughly of the same socioeconomic group or have a similar background in relation to the issue under consideration. The age and sex composition of the group should facilitate free discussion. 2. Physical arrangement. Communication and interaction during the FGDs should be encouraged in every possible way. Arrange the chairs in a circle. Make sure the area will be quiet, adequately lighted, etc. and that there will be no disturbances. 3. Preparation of a discussion guide. There should be a written list of topics to be covered. It can be formulated as a series of open-ended questions. During the discussion, one of the members of the research team should act as a facilitator for the focus group. One should serve as recorder. Functions of facilitators. 1. Introduce the session. 2. Encourage discussion. 3. Encourage involvement. 4. Listen carefully and move the discussion from topic to topic. Softly control time allocated to various topics so as to maintain interest. 5. Take time at the end of the meeting to summarize, check for agreement, and thank the participants. 6. In general, the facilitator should not act as an expert on the topic. His or her being there is to stimulate the support discussion. Report writing in focus group discussions. 1. Start with a description of the selection and composition of the groups of participants and a commentary on the group process, so the reader can assess the validity of the reported findings. 2. Present your findings. Follow your list of topics and guided by the objectives of the FGD. 3. Include questions whenever possible, particularly for key statements. Study session summary. There are many alternative approaches to data collection, and these approaches vary along several dimensions, which are structure, quantifiability, researcher obstructiveness, and objectivity. The data collection methods vary from quantitative to qualitative data collection methods, and each method has its own pros and cons.